Imagine waking up one morning, looking into the mirror, and seeing a stranger staring back at you. Not someone frightening, but someone remarkable, someone new, transformed, full of life, purpose, and possibility. Who would you become if you weren't tied to yesterday's identity, yesterday's doubts, or yesterday's fears? It's a simple yet profoundly challenging question. Most of us live our lives under the silent assumption that we are somehow fixed, bound by past choices and labels given by ourselves and others. But what if you could rewrite your story entirely? What if today, in this very moment, you could begin again, fresh, without hesitation, ready to fully embrace the potential that's always been quietly waiting within you? Throughout history, human beings have possessed an extraordinary capacity for reinvention, the power to redefine themselves again and again. Consider figures like Leonardo da Vinci, whose boundless curiosity led him to constantly redefine himself, from artist to inventor, scientist to philosopher. Or Malcolm X, whose journey took him from troubled youth to a voice of profound wisdom and change. These transformations weren't random or accidental. They were intentional acts of courage. Each step required shedding old identities, facing uncomfortable truths, and daring to envision new possibilities. Yet when we think about our own lives, we often feel imprisoned by the past. We replay old patterns, fall into familiar routines, and let self-imposed limitations govern our choices. Neuroscience provides intriguing insights into why this happens. Our brains crave familiarity and consistency, wiring us to avoid uncertainty at almost any cost. But paradoxically, it's this same brain, flexible and incredibly adaptive, that's capable of profound change and growth when we consciously choose new paths, habits, and ways of thinking. The philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." We are continually evolving, changing subtly with every breath, every choice, every moment. But what if we decided not to let this process remain passive? What if we actively embraced reinvention, not as a reactive necessity born from crisis, but as a joyful, proactive choice born from clarity, intention, and hope? This journey of reinvention isn't just about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more authentically yourself, stripped of layers of doubt, societal expectations, and fear. It's about stepping courageously into the unknown, acknowledging that uncertainty, though uncomfortable, is the birthplace of possibility. And this is precisely the invitation I want to offer you today. The invitation to unlock the potential within yourself to live your best life. A life full of passion, purpose, and profound meaning. In exploring this journey together, we'll delve deep into the fascinating intersection of philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and history. We'll explore how the Stoics taught us to embrace change and detach from outcomes, how existentialists encouraged us to create our own meaning amid uncertainty, and how cutting-edge neuroscience reveals that our brains, far from being rigid machines, are wonderfully adaptable, ready to be reshaped by intentional choices and actions. We'll reflect on profound questions like, what holds us back from genuine reinvention? How can we consciously rewire our minds for lasting transformation? And how do we practically translate deep self-awareness into meaningful action every single day? This isn't simply about superficial changes or temporary resolutions. It's about deep, lasting transformation that resonates at the core of who we are. It's about learning to see every challenge as an opportunity, every setback as a stepping stone, and every moment of uncertainty as a chance to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This is a journey inward as much as outward, a journey filled not with quick fixes, but with meaningful, sustained growth. So, as we begin, I invite you to consider this quietly powerful question. What if the greatest version of yourself isn't someone you need to discover, but someone you must courageously create? 1. The art of reinvention. When we talk about reinvention, we're not simply speaking about superficial changes, like shifting careers, updating your wardrobe, or adopting a new hobby. True reinvention is an inward journey, a conscious decision to radically shift your relationship with who you've always believed yourself to be. Think about David Bowie, a master of reinvention, who effortlessly moved through identities, from Ziggy Stardust to Aladdin Sane, continually discarding one persona to reveal another. Each transformation was profound because it reflected a deeper exploration of his inner truth, an expression of creative freedom rather than conformity to external expectations. Bowie taught us something invaluable. Real reinvention is a bold act of honesty, a willingness to break from past identities, no matter how comfortable or successful they've been. But why is reinvention so difficult for most of us? Neuroscience provides a fascinating insight. Your brain naturally resists deep change. In fact, the neural pathways in your mind tend to solidify around routines, habits, and familiar thought patterns. These patterns create a mental comfort zone, making you instinctively retreat when faced with uncertainty or the unknown. To your brain, familiarity means safety, even when familiar habits no longer serve your best interests. So, to reinvent yourself, you're essentially going against deeply embedded neural structures, and that's why this process often feels uncomfortable or even painful at first. Yet paradoxically, this very resistance from the brain contains within it the seeds of profound transformation. Neuroscience also shows us that the brain is remarkably plastic, capable of extraordinary adaptation when consciously guided. Through intentional thought patterns, focused actions, and consistent practice, you can literally reshape neural pathways. This isn't motivational fluff, it's biology. You have within you the power to transform, to actively create a new identity rather than passively accepting an old one. Consider Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Amid unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, Frankl recognized a profound truth. Though circumstances might strip away every external freedom, the internal freedom to choose your response can never truly be taken away. Frankl not only survived the camps, he emerged as a stronger, wiser, more compassionate human being, committed to helping others find meaning in their lives. His reinvention wasn't about changing external circumstances, but about harnessing internal power. This powerful example reminds us that reinvention doesn't depend solely on external changes. It begins with internal choices. Philosophically, the Stoics understood this long ago. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote extensively about the impermanence of life and identity. He knew that clinging to fixed ideas about oneself was a recipe for unhappiness. Instead, he advocated a constant willingness to adapt, to release rigid expectations, and to see oneself as part of a greater flow of nature, always in flux, never fixed. Stoicism teaches us to embrace reinvention not with anxiety, but with quiet confidence, trusting in our capacity to adapt and grow with every new experience. And practically, how does this look in everyday life? It begins by asking yourself some honest, perhaps challenging questions. What parts of your identity have you outgrown? What stories about yourself no longer align with who you truly are? Reinvention isn't about rejecting your past. It's about consciously choosing which parts of it you'll carry forward. Maybe it's leaving behind limiting beliefs that say you're not enough, or embracing new habits that reflect your genuine values rather than societal expectations. Perhaps it's about shedding an old career that no longer fulfills you, or consciously shifting how you relate to others, moving from fear and caution to openness and authenticity. The art of reinvention is a lifelong practice, a daily decision to remain open, curious, and courageous. It's an ongoing dialogue between who you are and who you aspire to become. Each day offers an opportunity not merely to repeat yesterday's patterns, but to intentionally shape tomorrow's possibilities. And so, as you consider your own journey, I encourage you to reflect deeply. What would it look like if you truly embraced the art of reinvention, not occasionally, but as an essential part of your identity, your growth, and your purpose? 2. Rewiring your brain for limitless possibilities. Imagine your mind as a vast, intricate network of roads and pathways. Every thought, every action, every emotion travels down these neural highways, shaping your perception of reality and, ultimately, the life you live. Over time, certain pathways become well-worn, like familiar trails you've walked countless times, forming habits, routines, and predictable reactions. These pathways make life easier, more efficient, predictable. But what if some of those roads lead to places you no longer want to go, to limiting beliefs, self-doubt, anxiety, or fear? Can you truly rewire your brain, carving out new paths toward possibility, resilience, and fulfillment? Science gives us a resounding yes. Neuroplasticity, the brain's extraordinary ability to reorganize and form new connections, is your greatest ally in the journey of reinvention. This isn't abstract theory. It's a tangible, biological reality, something researchers have observed clearly in brain scans. Your brain, far from being static, is constantly reshaping itself based on your experiences, actions, and even your thoughts. Each time you challenge a negative thought pattern, adopt a new habit, or consciously choose a different emotional response, you actively construct new neural pathways. With repetition, these pathways become stronger, gradually replacing old patterns that once felt permanent. Take, for instance, the inspiring story of Roger Bannister, who in 1954 became the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes. For decades, experts declared it an impossible feat, believing the human body simply wasn't capable of such speed. Bannister, however, refused to accept this limitation. He visualized success relentlessly, mentally rehearsing the precise moment he'd cross the finish line under that historic time. When he finally broke the barrier, something extraordinary happened. Not only did Bannister rewire his own brain to achieve the impossible, he rewired humanity's collective brain. Within months, other athletes shattered his record, proving once and for all that perceived limitations are often more mental than physical. This is the incredible power you hold, the capacity to rewrite your story through intentional thought and deliberate action. Cognitive psychology reveals that your beliefs shape your reality more deeply than most people realize. Researchers have shown repeatedly that changing the narrative you tell yourself can profoundly alter your brain chemistry, affecting mood, confidence, motivation, and performance. A well-known study from Harvard, for example, demonstrated that simply visualizing yourself succeeding at a difficult task activates nearly the same neural networks as actually performing the task. Your mind doesn't clearly differentiate imagination from reality. Both leave tangible marks in your neural circuitry. But how do you practically apply this knowledge to your own life? The first step is awareness, identifying habitual thoughts that reinforce limiting beliefs. Perhaps you've caught yourself thinking, "I'm just not good enough," "I'm always anxious," or "success isn't meant for someone like me." Once you recognize these patterns, you can consciously intervene. Each time these thoughts surface, pause and challenge them. Ask yourself, is this belief genuinely true? Or is it simply a familiar path my brain defaults to out of habit? Then deliberately replace these thoughts with empowering alternatives. Rather than "I can't," try "I haven't yet, but I'm fully capable of learning." Instead of "I'm always anxious," choose "I feel anxious now, but I have tools to navigate this feeling." With repetition, your brain will literally begin to carve out new roads, reshaping your internal dialogue from limitation to possibility. This practice isn't easy. Rewiring your brain demands patience, consistency, and compassion toward yourself. Initially, new pathways feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Your brain naturally resists stepping off familiar roads into unknown territory. But each small step builds momentum. Neuroscientists have shown that repetition and consistency, especially over several weeks, lead to measurable structural changes in the brain. What felt unnatural at first becomes second nature, eventually forming new habits that align with the person you choose to become. Reflect on this deeply. Every day you have countless opportunities to actively shape your brain's architecture. Every choice, how you respond to setbacks, how you approach challenges, even how you speak to yourself, is a chance to strengthen empowering pathways or reinforce limiting ones. You aren't fixed by biology or bound permanently by the past. You have a remarkable innate ability to evolve, to reshape your brain toward limitless possibilities, growth, and authentic fulfillment. As you continue on this journey, ask yourself, what new pathways will you consciously choose to create today, tomorrow, and in the days ahead? 3. Harnessing the power of radical self-love. Radical self-love is more than simply liking yourself or occasional moments of self-care. It's a profound, courageous acceptance of your whole being, including those aspects you typically hide, suppress, or reject. But what does radical self-love truly look like in practice? It's easy to mistake it for indulgence or vanity, but the reality runs much deeper. Radical self-love is revolutionary. It means choosing to stand firmly by your side, especially in moments when you feel unworthy, flawed, or inadequate. It means recognizing that your value isn't conditional. It's inherent, beyond debate or comparison. And perhaps most importantly, it means understanding that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. Throughout history, thinkers from diverse traditions have emphasized the transformative power of self-acceptance. The existential psychologist Carl Rogers described unconditional positive regard, a profound acceptance of oneself, as the foundation for meaningful change. Without acceptance, Rogers observed, true growth becomes nearly impossible because rejecting ourselves creates internal resistance that blocks transformation. Imagine trying to nurture a garden while continuously uprooting plants you don't deem perfect enough. Nothing flourishes in an environment of constant judgment. Similarly, human beings can't thrive without self-acceptance. Yet, paradoxically, Many of us mistakenly believe harsh criticism will drive growth, unaware that judgment often reinforces our deepest insecurities, keeping us stuck in cycles of shame and self-doubt. Radical self-love offers another path, one grounded in neuroscience. Studies on the brain's response to self-criticism versus self-compassion reveal something striking. Harsh self-judgment activates stress responses in the brain, releasing cortisol and triggering anxiety. In contrast, self-compassion calms these same regions, promoting emotional resilience, improved well-being, and higher motivation. Neuroscientist Kristin Neff's research consistently demonstrates that self-compassion doesn't diminish motivation, it strengthens it. People who practice self-compassion tend to achieve higher levels of success, precisely because they're better able to bounce back from setbacks without becoming paralyzed by shame or inadequacy. Consider Nelson Mandela, whose remarkable journey embodied radical self-love and compassion in profound ways. After spending 27 years imprisoned, Mandela emerged not with bitterness, but with a profound sense of self-acceptance and forgiveness toward those who oppressed him. He understood something deeply transformative: the way he related to himself internally, embracing both his strengths and flaws, directly influenced his capacity for empathy, compassion, and effective leadership externally. Mandela's legacy wasn't built upon perfection, but upon his courageous willingness to accept himself fully, using that acceptance as a foundation for radical change. How often do you speak to yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend or someone you deeply care about? Most of us harbor an inner critic, whispering doubts, harsh judgments, and reminders of past mistakes. We mistakenly believe this harsh voice keeps us accountable or disciplined, yet psychology reveals that true discipline arises more powerfully from self-compassion than criticism. When you truly love and accept yourself, you cultivate a deep trust that mistakes don't define you. They refine you, allowing you to learn, adapt, and grow without fear. Practically, radical self-love begins by paying close attention to your internal dialogue. Each time you catch yourself spiraling into harsh judgment, pause and consciously redirect your thoughts. Replace criticism with gentle acknowledgement of your humanity, acknowledging that everyone struggles, everyone fails, everyone experiences moments of doubt or insecurity. Remind yourself regularly that perfection isn't the goal. Authenticity, growth, and resilience are. Radical self-love also means setting firm boundaries, respecting your needs, and prioritizing your emotional well-being without apology. It's recognizing that your worthiness isn't defined by external validation, whether that comes from career success, relationships, or social approval. It means actively rejecting societal standards that dictate who you should be, how you should look, or what you should achieve to be considered valuable. Instead, you consciously affirm that your worth is inherent, unshakable, and independent of circumstances. When you harness the power of radical self-love, everything changes. You stop living life as an apology and start living it as a celebration, not because you're flawless, but precisely because you embrace yourself, flaws and all, fully and authentically. And as you step forward with courage, compassion, and genuine self-acceptance, your entire experience of life shifts, creating deeper connections, meaningful achievements, and profound inner peace. Reflect deeply today. How would your life transform if you committed to radical self-love, not occasionally, but continuously, intentionally, and wholeheartedly? 4. Mastering the art of fearless action. Have you ever felt that deep, quiet pull toward something extraordinary, a dream, an ambition, a leap of faith, but hesitated at the threshold, paralyzed by fear? This hesitation, this subtle yet powerful resistance, is something we've all felt, whether at the edge of a crucial decision, a new career path, a meaningful relationship, or an entirely new chapter of our lives. But what if the key to profound personal transformation wasn't waiting for courage to magically appear, but rather acting boldly despite the presence of fear itself? Throughout history, those who have transformed their lives, and often the world around them, weren't fearless in the literal sense. Rather, they mastered the art of fearless action, learning to move forward courageously, even while fear whispered doubts into their hearts. Consider Amelia Earhart, the legendary aviator, whose courage wasn't defined by the absence of fear, but by her determination to defy it. When asked about the risks she faced, Earhart famously remarked, "Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace." She understood profoundly that avoiding fear doesn't erase it. Rather, it only prolongs uncertainty and regret. True peace arises not from avoiding life's challenges, but from confronting them directly, moving forward even as fear urges retreat. From a psychological perspective, fear often acts as a protective mechanism rooted deep within our evolutionary past. It's your brain's ancient system alerting you to potential danger, urging caution to keep you safe. Neuroscience explains this clearly. When you face uncertainty, your brain's amygdala activates, sending signals of caution or fear designed to keep you alive. However, this same protective mechanism can become maladaptive when it perceives emotional risks, new experiences, or personal growth as threats, prompting unnecessary hesitation or avoidance. Your brain's attempt at self-preservation, though well-intentioned, might hold you back from meaningful progress and genuine fulfillment. Mastering fearless action doesn't mean ignoring fear or pretending it doesn't exist. Instead, it means acknowledging its presence while consciously choosing to act anyway. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith, a concept rooted deeply in existentialism. Kierkegaard believed life's greatest opportunities required embracing uncertainty, making bold choices without guarantees of success. To truly live authentically and meaningfully, Kierkegaard argued, we must step into the unknown, confronting uncertainty not as an enemy, but as a trusted companion guiding us toward deeper self-understanding and fulfillment. Think about someone like Rosa Parks. On a cold December evening in 1955, Parks chose not to surrender her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She later said she wasn't physically tired, but tired of giving in. Her action, taken despite personal risk, uncertainty and fear, ignited a movement for civil rights that changed history. Rosa Parks teaches us that the act of courageously stepping into uncertainty can create seismic shifts, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of countless others. How often do you hesitate at life's crossroads, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes? We often wait for fear to disappear, believing that if we were truly brave, we wouldn't feel afraid at all. But bravery doesn't operate this way. Bravery arises precisely in those moments when fear and uncertainty are strongest. It's a conscious decision to trust your ability to handle whatever outcome arises, knowing deeply that the act of moving forward, regardless of results, empowers you far more profoundly than retreat ever could. Practically speaking, fearless action requires shifting your relationship with uncertainty itself. Instead of viewing uncertainty as a barrier to action, Embrace it as an essential part of life's most meaningful journeys. Each time you step forward into uncertainty, even in small ways, you strengthen your capacity to handle greater challenges. Each fearless action, no matter how modest, rewires your brain, making future acts of courage easier and more natural. Consider a situation in your own life right now. Perhaps a decision you've postponed, a risk you've avoided, or a challenge you're facing. What would happen if, instead of waiting for fear to vanish, you simply accepted its presence and acted boldly anyway? Could you imagine the growth, resilience, and strength you'd cultivate by repeatedly choosing fearless action in your daily life? Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, but a profound understanding that the power of your dreams, your goals, and your life purpose outweighs the temporary discomfort fear may cause. As you continue this journey of reinvention, take a moment to deeply reflect. How different would your life look if you embraced the art of fearless action, stepping boldly into uncertainty, trusting yourself to handle whatever comes next? 5. Unlocking the power of flow states. Have you ever experienced moments when the world around you seemed to fade away completely? Moments where time stopped, distractions vanished, and you felt utterly immersed in whatever you were doing. Perhaps it was during an absorbing creative project, an intense athletic competition, or even a profound conversation where everything seemed effortless, focused, and deeply rewarding. Psychologists describe these powerful, elusive moments as flow states, a phenomenon in which your skills align perfectly with the challenges at hand, creating a seamless sense of focus, clarity, and peak performance. But flow is more than merely enjoyable. It's transformative. It's a state that, when harnessed intentionally, can profoundly shift the trajectory of your life. The concept of flow was first explored in depth by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who dedicated decades to studying these optimal experiences. Csikszentmihalyi observed that people across cultures and professions, from musicians and athletes to surgeons and artists, reported similar sensations during peak performance: effortless concentration, merging of action and awareness, and a loss of self-consciousness, replaced by deep joy and fulfillment. His findings were revolutionary because they showed that peak experiences weren't accidental or reserved for a select few. They were accessible to everyone, provided certain conditions were intentionally cultivated. Neuroscience adds another dimension to our understanding of flow, revealing precisely what happens inside your brain during these extraordinary moments. When you're in flow, your brain enters a unique neurological state. Your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-monitoring, anxiety, and critical self-evaluation, temporarily quiets down. Simultaneously, the brain releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals, including dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and norepinephrine. These chemicals dramatically enhance focus, boost creativity, elevate mood, and accelerate learning, making flow states not just pleasurable, but incredibly productive. To illustrate the power of flow, consider jazz legend Miles Davis. Known for his improvisational brilliance, Davis rarely played a composition the same way twice. Each performance was an exploration, a fearless embrace of the unknown. He spoke often about getting out of his own way, allowing intuition to guide him into the music, entering states where he was no longer consciously controlling the notes. He simply became the music itself. His greatest performances weren't carefully planned. They were spontaneous eruptions of creativity driven entirely by flow. Davis's legacy underscores something crucial. Mastery in any domain arises not merely from technical skill, but from the ability to enter flow consistently. So, how can you intentionally cultivate flow states in your own life? Csikszentmihalyi identified specific conditions that reliably lead to flow: clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance between challenge and skill. Practically speaking, this means setting precise, manageable goals that stretch you without overwhelming you, creating immediate feedback loops to gauge your progress, and gradually increasing challenges as your skills develop. Flow thrives when you're working at the edge of your abilities, where tasks are neither too easy, leading to boredom, nor too difficult, leading to anxiety. By consciously designing your environment and activities to include these elements, you significantly increase your chances of entering flow regularly. But perhaps the most critical aspect of cultivating flow is your relationship with distraction. In today's hyper-connected world, sustained attention has become increasingly rare. Constant notifications, multitasking, and fragmented attention actively prevent flow, robbing you of the profound benefits this state provides. To experience flow regularly, you must consciously create space for deep, uninterrupted engagement. Whether this means setting aside distraction-free periods daily, carefully structuring your environment, or training yourself through mindfulness practices, protecting your attention is essential. Moreover, flow states aren't limited to grand or remarkable tasks. They're available in everyday moments, when cooking a meal, gardening, writing in your journal, or even having a meaningful conversation. What truly matters isn't the activity itself, but your presence within it. Flow arises when you engage fully, with genuine curiosity and openness, surrendering the habitual need to control outcomes. In those moments of complete immersion, you connect deeply with yourself and the task at hand, discovering new layers of creativity, insight, and enjoyment that often remain hidden beneath surface-level engagement. Reflect for a moment on your own experiences. When have you felt truly in flow? What common threads connect these moments? And most importantly, how might intentionally cultivating more flow in your life lead not just to greater performance, but deeper fulfillment, meaning, and joy? Remember, flow isn't merely about temporary pleasure or momentary peak performance. It's about tapping into a state of consciousness that reveals your highest potential, transforming ordinary experiences into profound opportunities for growth and fulfillment. As you continue this journey toward unlocking your best self, ask yourself, how could intentionally harnessing flow transform the quality and direction of your life, empowering you to live with deeper creativity, clarity, and purpose? 6. Living in alignment with your highest potential. Imagine for a moment living a life that feels deeply and authentically aligned. A life in which your actions, values, and purpose resonate harmoniously, guiding you forward with clarity and genuine fulfillment. Many of us spend years, or even decades, searching for external markers of success: prestigious careers, financial stability, approval from others. Yet despite these external achievements, a profound sense of emptiness often persists, as if something vital, something fundamental, remains missing. This emptiness arises not from lack of achievement, but from a disconnection between who you are and the life you're truly meant to live. To live in alignment with your highest potential means courageously embracing your authentic self, making choices guided by your core values rather than external expectations, and actively shaping your life around what matters most deeply to you. Historically, great thinkers and leaders across traditions have emphasized the importance of living authentically. Socrates famously advised, "Know thyself," a deceptively simple instruction that invites profound reflection. For Socrates, self-knowledge wasn't merely about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, it was about deeply understanding your values, motivations, and purpose. Similarly, the Stoics believed that living in alignment with one's inner truth, guided by wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice, was the key to genuine happiness. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the need to align one's actions with one's principles, reminding himself constantly to stay true to his core values, even when it was difficult, unpopular, or painful. Modern psychology supports these ancient insights profoundly. Humanistic psychologists like Abraham Maslow emphasize the importance of self-actualization, living in accordance with one's fullest potential and highest values. Maslow observed that truly fulfilled individuals aren't necessarily the most conventionally successful, but those who align their daily choices with deep, intrinsic motivations and values. He described self-actualization as not merely an endpoint, but a continuous process of becoming, actively growing, evolving, and embracing deeper layers of authenticity throughout life. In other words, alignment isn't something you achieve once and permanently. It's an ongoing, intentional practice that unfolds moment by moment. From a neurological standpoint, living in alignment also creates measurable, tangible benefits in your brain. Studies suggest that people whose actions align with their core values experience reduced stress, lower anxiety, improved mood, and greater resilience. Misalignment, on the other hand, living a life that conflicts with your true self, triggers chronic stress responses in the brain and body, eroding mental and physical health over time. When you're true to yourself, your brain rewards you with positive neurochemical feedback, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, that reinforce feelings of meaning, purpose, and genuine fulfillment. Consider, for example, the life of Albert Schweitzer, the remarkable humanitarian physician and Nobel laureate. Originally celebrated as a renowned philosopher and musician in Europe, Schweitzer experienced a deep internal conflict, recognizing that external acclaim wasn't aligned with his inner calling. In his 30s, he courageously abandoned his secure and prestigious life to study medicine, ultimately dedicating decades to serving communities in Africa. Despite external hardships, Schweitzer described profound inner peace and fulfillment, precisely because his actions fully aligned with his deeply held values. He didn't merely preach about compassion, he lived it authentically and courageously, embodying alignment at the deepest level. Living in alignment practically begins by clearly defining your core values. What truly matters most to you: authenticity, creativity, compassion, courage, contribution, growth. Once identified, these values become your internal compass, guiding decisions large and small. Before making significant choices, pause and reflect. Is this decision genuinely aligned with my deepest values and purpose, or am I simply conforming to external expectations, societal pressures, or momentary convenience? Another crucial step is cultivating the courage to say no to misaligned opportunities, relationships, or activities. Alignment often demands the courage to disappoint others or reject conventional paths when they conflict with your inner truth. It's not always easy, but each authentic decision you make strengthens your capacity to live boldly and genuinely, further aligning your life around meaningful purpose. Finally, embracing alignment means allowing yourself the flexibility and humility to evolve. Authenticity isn't static. It changes as you grow, Your values may deepen, expand, or shift as you accumulate experiences. Regularly revisiting your core beliefs and choices ensures that your life continues to reflect your evolving self, remaining deeply and genuinely aligned. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. How closely do your daily actions, relationships, and goals align with your deepest values and potential? Where might misalignment currently exist, subtly eroding your sense of fulfillment? What courageous steps could you take today and every day moving forward to bridge the gap between who you are and who you're truly meant to become? Living in alignment with your highest potential isn't merely about success. It's about authenticity, purpose, and the quiet, profound fulfillment that arises when you genuinely honor your inner truth. As you journey forward, ask yourself honestly and deeply, what would your life look like if you committed fully to living in alignment, not occasionally or partially, but authentically, courageously, and wholeheartedly? 7. Cultivating an unstoppable mindset. Have you ever wondered what truly separates those who thrive in adversity from those who crumble? It's tempting to attribute success or resilience solely to talent, resources, or even luck. But if we look closely, we see something far more fundamental: mindset. Your mindset, the lens through which you view challenges, setbacks, and opportunities, shapes your reality far more profoundly than external circumstances ever could. Cultivating an unstoppable mindset means developing an internal attitude that views obstacles as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and uncertainty as a welcome chance for growth. It's not about ignoring difficulties, pretending everything is easy, or forcing positivity. Instead, it's about authentically embracing life's complexity, understanding deeply that your greatest strength lies not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to respond. Carol Dweck, a renowned psychologist at Stanford University, introduced the concept of growth mindset to explain why certain people flourish under adversity while others falter. Her research revealed something striking. People with a growth mindset see failures and setbacks as essential stepping stones toward mastery, viewing effort, struggle, and even occasional disappointment as valuable indicators of growth. In contrast, those with a fixed mindset interpret setbacks as definitive proof of inadequacy, believing their abilities are rigidly defined and limited. Dweck's findings are profound, not merely because they emphasize the importance of attitude, but because they clearly demonstrate that mindset itself is malleable. It can be shaped, cultivated, and consciously nurtured, empowering you to adopt beliefs and habits that strengthen resilience and fuel continuous growth. Philosophically, cultivating an unstoppable mindset echoes Stoic teachings deeply. The Stoics understood vividly that external events are beyond our control, yet our reactions, our interpretations and responses remain fully within our power. Epictetus famously advised, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The unstoppable mindset doesn't deny life's hardships. It embraces them, extracting meaning, purpose, and growth from every difficulty. Marcus Aurelius himself practiced reframing adversity regularly, seeing obstacles not as impediments, but as opportunities to practice virtue, resilience, and wisdom. Through this approach, Stoicism teaches us that mindset isn't merely about positivity. It's about courageously confronting reality as it is, transforming adversity into wisdom and inner strength. Neuroscientific research reinforces these ancient insights powerfully. Studies show that adopting a resilient, growth-oriented mindset literally rewires the brain. Individuals who consciously embrace challenges, persist through setbacks, and focus on continuous learning experience measurable changes in their neural architecture. Their brains grow more flexible, resilient, and better equipped to handle stress and uncertainty over time. Conversely, individuals who habitually avoid challenges or react negatively to setbacks reinforce neural pathways associated with anxiety, fear, and limitation. Your mindset, it turns out, isn't merely psychological, it's deeply biological, influencing brain structure and chemistry at profound levels. Consider the extraordinary example of Thomas Edison, who famously said, after thousands of failed attempts to invent a functional light bulb, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's mindset was unstoppable, not because he never faced setbacks, but precisely because he viewed each setback as essential progress. Every failure taught him something crucial, moving him closer to success rather than further away. Edison's resilience didn't stem from talent alone, but from his unshakable belief in growth through persistence and courage in the face of repeated disappointments. Practically cultivating this mindset requires intentional practice. It begins with consciously reframing setbacks. Whenever you encounter adversity, pause and deliberately seek out the lessons embedded within it. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask yourself, "What is this experience trying to teach me? How can I grow from it?" This simple yet powerful reframing shifts your brain's default response from defensiveness and defeat to curiosity and openness, directly strengthening your resilience over time. It also involves regularly stepping outside your comfort zone, actively seeking experiences that challenge your skills, assumptions, or beliefs. The unstoppable mindset thrives not by avoiding discomfort, but by continuously embracing it as an essential element of growth. Each courageous step forward, even if initially uncomfortable, strengthens your inner confidence and self-trust, creating positive feedback loops that further reinforce resilience. Above all, cultivating an unstoppable mindset means genuinely believing in your capacity to adapt, learn, and grow regardless of circumstances. It's rooted in the humble yet empowering acknowledgement that while you can't control external events, you always control your internal response. Each choice, each reaction, each attitude shapes your character and life trajectory profoundly. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. How would your daily choices, reactions, and experiences shift if you fully embraced an unstoppable mindset? Not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and authentically. How would your relationship with uncertainty, challenge, and adversity transform if you saw each setback as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? Ultimately, an unstoppable mindset isn't merely about achievement. It's about resilience, inner strength, and a profound belief in your ability to overcome, adapt, and flourish amid life's inevitable uncertainties. As you journey onward, ask yourself sincerely, what extraordinary potential lies ahead if you commit wholeheartedly to cultivating an unstoppable mindset in every aspect of your life? 8. Building resilience and embracing setbacks. What if setbacks, the moments we often dread, resist, or even resent, are secretly your greatest allies on the path to profound growth and lasting transformation? At first glance, this may sound counterintuitive, perhaps even uncomfortable. After all, who genuinely welcomes disappointment, failure, or hardship? Yet, throughout history, in the lives of individuals who achieved profound personal and collective breakthroughs, resilience in the face of adversity stands out as a defining trait. Resilience is not merely the ability to endure difficulty, it's the power to grow stronger, wiser, and more adaptable precisely because of it. Consider the remarkable story of J.K. Rowling. Long before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, Rowling was a struggling single mother, barely making ends meet. Her manuscript was famously rejected by a dozen publishers, each setback more painful and disheartening than the last. Yet, years later, Rowling reflected on these very setbacks with profound gratitude, describing her failures as foundational to her eventual success. She recognized that resilience wasn't about avoiding disappointment. It was about persistently moving forward through uncertainty, using each setback as an opportunity for deeper learning, adaptation, and growth. Psychological research strongly supports Rowling's experience. Studies on resilience reveal that the strongest predictor of future success and fulfillment isn't talent, intellect, or even opportunity. It's the ability to respond adaptively to setbacks. Resilient individuals share specific cognitive habits. They view setbacks as temporary rather than permanent, situational rather than personal, and informative rather than catastrophic. This mindset allows them to bounce back faster, using adversity as fuel for growth rather than justification for despair. Neuroscience provides even deeper insights into why resilience matters so profoundly. When faced with setbacks, our brains naturally activate stress responses, flooding the body with cortisol and triggering the fight-or-flight reaction. While beneficial in genuinely dangerous situations, chronic activation of this response, triggered by everyday disappointments or failures, erodes mental health, dampens motivation, and weakens our capacity to cope. Conversely, resilient people manage stress differently, actively engaging neural circuits associated with problem-solving, emotional regulation, and adaptive thinking. Over time, these repeated adaptations reshape the brain itself, strengthening neural pathways that support emotional stability, creativity, and sustained growth under pressure. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius once advised, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Aurelius saw clearly that setbacks aren't mere obstacles. They are precisely the stepping stones required to cultivate resilience, wisdom, and inner strength. Rather than avoiding challenges or setbacks, Stoicism encourages us to embrace them consciously, recognizing them as invaluable opportunities for growth, virtue, and self-mastery. In other words, adversity isn't merely something to be endured, it's something to be actively transformed. Embracing setbacks practically requires shifting how you interpret them. Each time you encounter disappointment or failure, resist the instinctive urge to retreat or withdraw. Instead, consciously pause and reflect, asking yourself, "What can this experience teach me? How can I grow wiser, stronger, or more compassionate because of it?" Rather than viewing setbacks as evidence of inadequacy or proof that you're on the wrong path, interpret them as valuable feedback, information guiding you toward deeper alignment, greater effectiveness, or improved resilience. Another powerful practice is to consciously cultivate gratitude toward adversity itself. This doesn't mean romanticizing suffering, but rather sincerely acknowledging the role setbacks play in shaping character and insight. When you recognize that some of your most profound lessons have emerged from difficulty, disappointment loses much of its sting. You no longer fear failure. Instead, you welcome it with quiet confidence, trusting deeply in your ability to learn, adapt, and thrive amid uncertainty. Perhaps most importantly, resilience isn't about immediate perfection or endless positivity. It's about honest, courageous persistence despite inevitable setbacks. It means allowing yourself the emotional honesty to feel disappointment or frustration without becoming permanently defined by it. Resilient individuals acknowledge their emotions openly, but don't dwell indefinitely within them. Instead, they move through feelings constructively, actively seeking practical solutions, deeper insights, or necessary adjustments to continue their journey forward. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. How do you currently respond to setbacks? Do you interpret them as devastating personal failures or opportunities for growth and learning? How would your experience of life shift if you chose resilience? Not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and authentically. Remember, building resilience isn't about becoming invulnerable. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, and more adaptable, precisely because you allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's about transforming every challenge, disappointment, or setback into a powerful catalyst for deeper understanding, authentic growth, and lasting fulfillment. As you continue this journey, ask yourself sincerely, how would your life unfold if you fully embraced setbacks, recognizing them as essential steps toward resilience, wisdom, and your highest potential? 9. Living with passion and purpose. If you paused right now and asked yourself honestly and openly, am I genuinely living my life with passion and purpose? What would your answer be? It's an uncomfortable question for many, not because we don't know the answer, but precisely because we do. Deep down, most of us sense intuitively when we're merely existing, moving from day to day on autopilot, fulfilling obligations without genuinely engaging our hearts, minds, or souls. Living with passion and purpose isn't simply a luxury or privilege reserved for a fortunate few. It's fundamental to human flourishing, essential for experiencing true fulfillment, meaning, and lasting joy. Philosophers and thinkers across time have recognized the crucial role passion and purpose play in a fulfilling life. Friedrich Nietzsche famously wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." Nietzsche understood deeply that purpose isn't merely a pleasant addition to life. It's vital to our very existence, providing direction, motivation, and resilience even amid significant hardship or uncertainty. Similarly, existential psychologist Viktor Frankl observed firsthand during his imprisonment in Auschwitz that individuals with a clear sense of purpose, something meaningful to strive toward, were significantly more likely to survive. Purpose wasn't merely a pleasant idea, it was literally life-saving. From a psychological perspective, purpose is profoundly transformative. Extensive research consistently reveals that people who identify and commit deeply to meaningful goals experience dramatically enhanced psychological health, resilience, and life satisfaction. Passion, when aligned authentically with meaningful purpose, amplifies these effects even further. Passion fuels motivation, creativity, and perseverance, empowering you to face challenges courageously and persistently, even when obstacles arise. This combination, clear purpose and genuine passion, creates an internal compass, guiding you toward actions, relationships, and experiences that resonate deeply with who you truly are and aspire to become. Neuroscience reveals compelling reasons why living with passion and purpose feels so intrinsically rewarding. When you engage deeply in activities aligned with your values and genuine passions, your brain releases neurochemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which significantly enhance well-being, clarity, and emotional resilience. Conversely, living without purpose triggers chronic stress, anxiety, and even depression, as your brain continually searches for meaning and coherence that isn't being fulfilled. Essentially, your brain is wired to seek and thrive upon meaningful engagement. When this deep-seated need remains unmet, dissatisfaction and emptiness naturally arise. Consider Steve Irwin, the beloved conservationist known worldwide as the crocodile hunter. Irwin's passion was utterly infectious, not simply because he loved wildlife, but because that passion was deeply aligned with a profound sense of purpose, protecting animals and ecosystems through education and conservation. Each moment of Irwin's life seemed infused with enthusiasm, curiosity, and genuine joy, not because he never faced setbacks or challenges, but precisely because his passion and purpose created a deeper sense of meaning, fulfillment, and resilience that guided him through every obstacle he encountered. Steve Irwin reminds us powerfully that a life lived with passion and purpose isn't merely inspiring, it's transformative, leaving behind a legacy that resonates long after we're gone. Practically cultivating passion and purpose begins by honestly reflecting upon what truly matters to you, what moves you deeply, inspires you consistently, and aligns authentically with your deepest values. This reflection isn't about identifying superficial pleasures or momentary excitements, but rather discovering the deeper motivations that genuinely drive and fulfill you. Often, these insights emerge through exploring questions like, what would I dedicate my life to if I knew I couldn't fail? What genuinely energizes and inspires me? Or, what legacy do I hope to leave behind? Once identified, purpose isn't static. It must be actively cultivated and nurtured daily. Passion flourishes when consistently aligned with meaningful, purposeful actions. Even seemingly mundane activities become infused with deeper significance when viewed through the lens of purpose. Washing dishes becomes an act of service toward your family, your art, or your community. Engaging in challenging tasks becomes meaningful when understood as stepping stones toward meaningful goals. Purpose transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary opportunities for growth, fulfillment, and lasting joy. Finally, living with passion and purpose means courageously aligning your life around your deepest values, even if it means deviating from conventional paths or societal expectations. Purpose-driven living often requires the courage to make unconventional choices, embrace uncertainty, or withstand criticism from those who might not understand your journey. Yet each courageous decision strengthens your internal compass, deepening your sense of meaning, fulfillment, and genuine passion. Reflect deeply on your life right now. Are you genuinely living with passion and purpose, or are you simply existing day to day? How would your experience of life shift profoundly if you courageously committed to aligning your actions, relationships, and goals with your deepest values and purpose, not occasionally or superficially, but intentionally, authentically, and wholeheartedly? Living with passion and purpose isn't merely about achievement or recognition. It's about deep, meaningful engagement with life itself. It's about discovering and embracing the profound sense of fulfillment, clarity, and joy that naturally arises when your daily actions authentically align with your heart's deepest truths. As you continue your journey, ask yourself sincerely, what extraordinary possibilities might unfold if you committed wholeheartedly to living every moment with genuine passion and profound purpose? 10. The power of consistency and discipline. Have you ever noticed how the most profound transformations in life rarely come from sudden leaps, dramatic breakthroughs, or fleeting bursts of inspiration? Instead, lasting change arises quietly, gradually, built upon small yet consistent actions repeated patiently over time. Consistency and discipline, though often misunderstood or even dismissed as tedious or restrictive, represent perhaps your greatest allies in creating meaningful, sustainable transformation. When aligned intentionally with clear purpose and genuine passion, consistency becomes a powerful engine driving you steadily toward the life you deeply aspire to live. Think about water flowing gently yet relentlessly against solid rock. Initially, the rock seems impervious, untouched by the water's presence. But over weeks, months, and years, something remarkable happens. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the persistent flow carves profound channels into stone, reshaping its very structure. This powerful metaphor illustrates precisely how consistency and discipline function within your own life. Small daily actions, consistently performed, shape your character, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Philosophically, the Stoics deeply understood this principle. Seneca once remarked, "We should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passion opposed? What temptation resisted?" Seneca recognized profoundly that consistent self-reflection and disciplined daily practice, not sporadic bursts of enthusiasm, created lasting growth and meaningful transformation. Similarly, Marcus Aurelius advised himself regularly to approach each day as an opportunity to reinforce virtue, character, and wisdom through consistent, intentional action. For the Stoics, consistency wasn't restrictive. It was liberating, providing clarity, strength, and profound inner peace. Psychology and neuroscience affirm these ancient insights powerfully. Habit formation research consistently demonstrates that repeated actions, whether positive or negative, create powerful neural pathways in the brain, reinforcing behaviors over time. Each repeated action deepens the corresponding neural groove, gradually automating behaviors and habits, reducing the mental energy required to perform them. This phenomenon explains precisely why consistency matters so profoundly. Repeated, disciplined actions literally reshape your brain, embedding desired behaviors deeply and making future performance increasingly effortless and natural. Consider legendary author Stephen King, who attributes his prolific career not merely to talent or inspiration, but primarily to disciplined consistency. Every single morning, King writes without fail, not because he feels motivated or inspired every day, but because consistent action cultivates creativity, skill, and mastery over time. He understands profoundly that consistency doesn't depend on motivation or perfect conditions. It relies solely on commitment, discipline, and the quiet determination to keep showing up day after day, no matter the circumstance. Yet consistency and discipline often receive resistance, perhaps because we mistakenly associate them with restriction or rigidity. The truth, however, is far more liberating. Discipline isn't about self-denial or harsh control. It's about aligning your daily actions authentically with your deepest values and purpose. It's about consciously choosing meaningful consistency over momentary impulses, creating sustainable habits that empower your growth, clarity, and lasting fulfillment. Practically speaking, cultivating consistency and discipline begins by setting clear, manageable goals aligned deeply with your genuine purpose. Break large aspirations into smaller daily actions actions simple enough to perform consistently, yet meaningful enough to yield visible progress over time. Perhaps this means dedicating 15 minutes each morning to meditation or journaling, consistently exercising daily, regularly scheduling intentional time for meaningful relationships, or steadily pursuing a creative passion project. Whatever your chosen action, consistency transforms vague aspirations into tangible realities, gradually building profound momentum toward meaningful transformation. Crucially, discipline thrives when you consciously create supportive systems and environments that reinforce consistent actions. Reduce friction by structuring your environment intentionally, minimize distractions, set clear routines, create accountability systems, and regularly celebrate small victories. Consistency becomes far more achievable when aligned with thoughtful planning, clear structure, and intentional self-awareness. Rather than relying solely upon willpower, proactively design your environment to reinforce desired habits effortlessly. Yet perhaps the most powerful aspect of consistency is the compounding effect it creates. Small daily actions, often seemingly insignificant individually, compound powerfully over time, creating exponential growth, mastery, and profound transformation. Just as small financial investments grow dramatically through compound interest, your consistent daily actions accumulate profoundly, reshaping your character, skills, and overall life trajectory in extraordinary ways. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. Are your daily actions consistently aligned with your highest aspirations, or are they scattered, inconsistent, or frequently abandoned? How would your life profoundly shift if you courageously committed to consistent daily actions, aligned intentionally with your deepest values and aspirations, not occasionally, but intentionally, persistently, and authentically? Ultimately, consistency and discipline aren't about restriction, they're about empowerment. They transform vague intentions into tangible realities, creating profound growth, mastery, and genuine fulfillment precisely because of their quiet yet relentless persistence. As you continue your journey, ask yourself sincerely, what extraordinary potential lies ahead if you commit wholeheartedly to harnessing the quiet yet transformative power of consistency and discipline every single day? 11. Creating a legacy of impact. If your life were to end tomorrow, what legacy would you leave behind? It's a confronting, perhaps uncomfortable question, but one that holds extraordinary power if you choose to face it openly and courageously. Many of us live as though our lives are infinite, endlessly delaying meaningful action, authentic relationships, and profound contribution to some indefinite future moment. Yet deep down, each of us understands intuitively that our time is limited. Recognizing this limitation isn't meant to create anxiety. Rather, it's an invitation to consciously shape your legacy, crafting a life defined not merely by achievements or material success, but by meaningful impact, genuine connection, and lasting contribution. The ancient Egyptians believed deeply in legacy, constructing monumental pyramids designed explicitly to immortalize their accomplishments, ensuring their stories would resonate for millennia. Yet the true measure of a legacy isn't found in physical monuments, wealth, or power. It lies in the intangible marks you leave on others' hearts, minds, and lives. Marcus Aurelius expressed this idea profoundly, writing, "What we do now echoes in eternity." For the Stoics, legacy was intimately tied to virtue, character, and meaningful service, qualities whose impact reverberated long after one's physical presence had faded. Philosopher William James observed something similar, reflecting that the greatest use of a life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. James understood profoundly that human beings are innately driven toward meaning, purpose, and enduring significance. Material success alone rarely satisfies this deeper need, precisely because its impact is fleeting. Lasting fulfillment arises not from personal accumulation, but from meaningful contribution, from consciously dedicating your life to causes, relationships, or ideas that extend beyond your immediate self-interest. Psychologically, creating a legacy of impact significantly enhances your sense of purpose, clarity, and well-being. Research consistently reveals that individuals who engage deeply in meaningful contribution, volunteering, mentoring, charitable work, or even daily acts of kindness, experience dramatically higher levels of life satisfaction, emotional resilience, and overall fulfillment. Neurologically, altruistic actions release neurochemicals like serotonin and oxytocin, enhancing happiness, empathy, and emotional stability. Human beings, it turns out, are biologically wired to thrive when contributing meaningfully to others, reinforcing our innate need for connection and significance. Consider Mother Teresa, whose legacy remains profoundly resonant decades after her death, not because of wealth, fame, or power, but because of her profound compassion, humility, and tireless service. Her impact wasn't defined by grand gestures alone, but by countless small, consistent actions performed selflessly over decades. Mother Teresa understood deeply that genuine legacy arises quietly, often unnoticed, shaped profoundly through simple yet authentic contributions to others' lives. Yet legacy isn't reserved only for historic figures or remarkable acts of global significance. Each one of us creates a legacy daily through our actions, choices, and interactions. Legacy exists profoundly in how you treat others, your kindness, generosity, empathy, and integrity. It exists in the ideas you share, the contributions you make, and even the attitudes you consistently embody. Every action, no matter how seemingly small, carries profound ripple effects extending outward, shaping others' experiences and lives long after you've moved on. Practically cultivating a legacy of impact involves consciously reflecting upon your deeper values and purpose. Ask yourself honestly, how do I want to be remembered? What contributions, relationships, or causes deeply inspire me? How can I integrate meaningful service more fully into my everyday life? Clarity around these questions empowers intentional action, guiding you toward meaningful, lasting contributions aligned genuinely with your highest aspirations. It also means actively embracing opportunities to mentor, support, and empower others consistently, not occasionally, but intentionally. Whether mentoring younger colleagues, volunteering within your community, sharing meaningful insights and experiences, or simply demonstrating consistent kindness and empathy toward those around you, your genuine impact compounds profoundly over time, creating meaningful change long after your immediate presence has faded. Perhaps most importantly, creating a legacy requires courageously aligning your daily actions consistently with your deepest values. It means consciously prioritizing meaningful service, authentic connection, and lasting contribution, even when it's inconvenient, difficult, or unrecognized. Legacy isn't built occasionally or incidentally. It emerges from deliberate, consistent action, choices shaped intentionally around your genuine purpose and deeply held beliefs. Reflect deeply right now. What legacy are you consciously or unconsciously creating through your daily actions, attitudes, and relationships? How would your choices profoundly shift if you genuinely committed to crafting a meaningful legacy, not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and wholeheartedly? Ultimately, your legacy represents something far deeper than mere recognition or remembrance. It's about authentically living a life of genuine meaning, lasting contribution, and profound connection. It's about shaping your life intentionally around ideas, values, and relationships whose significance transcends immediate self-interest, leaving behind an enduring impact resonating long after you're gone. As you continue your journey, sincerely ask yourself, how would your life and legacy transform profoundly if you consciously embraced every action, every interaction, and every choice as opportunities to create genuine, lasting impact? Impact that meaningfully echoes across time. 12. Mastering emotional intelligence for personal growth. Have you ever stopped to truly reflect on how profoundly emotions shape every aspect of your life, from the quality of your relationships to your performance at work, from your overall happiness to your ability to handle adversity? Emotions, despite their subtlety, are the silent architects of our reality. They color every experience, influence every decision, and guide every interaction, whether we're consciously aware of them or not. Yet, remarkably, many of us navigate life with minimal awareness of our emotional landscapes, often perceiving emotions as unpredictable forces beyond our control. What if, instead, you viewed your emotions not as obstacles, but as powerful tools you could master intentionally to profoundly enhance your growth, fulfillment, and success? Emotional intelligence, commonly known as EQ, is precisely this ability, the skill of recognizing, understanding, managing, and harnessing your emotions effectively. Popularized by psychologist Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence encompasses self-awareness, emotional regulation, empathy, and social skill, qualities that profoundly impact personal, professional, and relational success, far beyond traditional measures like IQ or technical competence. Research consistently reveals that individuals with high emotional intelligence experience significantly enhanced psychological resilience, deeper relational connections, higher job satisfaction, and greater overall happiness than those lacking emotional awareness or control. Historically, the Stoics deeply understood the transformative power of emotional mastery. Contrary to popular misunderstanding, Stoicism doesn't advocate emotional suppression. Rather, it encourages profound emotional awareness and intelligent emotional regulation. Epictetus wisely advised, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." The Stoics saw clearly that emotional intelligence wasn't about eliminating emotions, but rather consciously engaging them with wisdom, compassion, and intentionality. By thoughtfully managing reactions to external events, they cultivated profound inner peace, resilience, and clarity, even amid chaos or uncertainty. Neuroscience provides compelling evidence supporting the value of emotional intelligence. Brain imaging studies reveal that individuals adept at emotional regulation activate distinct neural pathways, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, that significantly enhance emotional resilience, clarity, and effective decision-making. In contrast, people lacking emotional awareness frequently experience neural activation in regions associated with stress, anxiety, impulsivity, and chronic emotional instability. Practically, emotional intelligence literally reshapes your brain structure, strengthening neural pathways supporting emotional balance, resilience, and overall psychological well-being. Consider Nelson Mandela, whose profound emotional intelligence helped transform an entire nation. After spending 27 years imprisoned unjustly, Mandela emerged not bitter or vengeful, but remarkably compassionate and emotionally balanced. He consciously chose forgiveness over resentment, reconciliation over revenge, choices deeply rooted in profound emotional intelligence. Mandela's emotional mastery enabled him to unite a fractured society, demonstrating powerfully how emotional intelligence doesn't merely enhance personal fulfillment. It creates extraordinary collective transformation. Practically mastering emotional intelligence begins fundamentally with self-awareness. It means consciously and courageously observing your emotional responses without immediate judgment or reaction, rather than automatically suppressing difficult emotions or reflexively expressing them. Emotional intelligence encourages mindful observation, compassionate curiosity, and thoughtful reflection. When emotions arise, pause deliberately. Ask yourself genuinely, what am I feeling? What triggered this emotion? What deeper insight or understanding might this emotion provide? This mindful reflection transforms emotions from unconscious reactions into powerful tools for profound self-awareness and growth. Emotionally intelligent people also excel at emotional regulation, not by suppressing feelings, but by actively choosing how to respond effectively. Instead of reacting impulsively to anger, fear, or frustration, emotionally intelligent individuals deliberately create space between stimulus and response, consciously choosing reactions aligned genuinely with their deeper values. Techniques like mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, or reflective journaling enhance emotional regulation profoundly, enabling clearer decisions, improved relationships, and sustained emotional balance, even amid challenges or uncertainty. Additionally, emotional intelligence profoundly enhances empathy, the capacity to genuinely understand and relate compassionately to others' emotions and experiences. Empathy not only deepens relationships profoundly, but significantly enhances leadership effectiveness, collaboration, and social connection. Practically cultivating empathy involves consciously stepping beyond personal perspective, genuinely listening to others, and authentically validating their emotional experiences without judgment or defensiveness. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. How consciously and effectively do you currently manage your emotions? How deeply do you genuinely understand yourself and others emotionally? How would your life profoundly shift if you courageously committed to mastering emotional intelligence, not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and authentically? Ultimately, emotional intelligence isn't merely about feeling good. It's about authentically harnessing your emotions as powerful allies, supporting profound growth, resilience, connection, and fulfillment. As you continue your journey, sincerely ask yourself, how extraordinary would your relationships, career, and overall life become if you consciously embraced emotional intelligence, mastering your emotions intentionally as powerful tools for profound growth, connection, and lasting fulfillment? 13. The power of gratitude and its transformative effect. Have you ever paused to genuinely reflect on the profound power of gratitude, the quiet yet transformative force capable of reshaping your perception, enhancing your well-being, and profoundly elevating the quality of your life? In today's fast-paced, achievement-driven society, Gratitude often seems overlooked or misunderstood, perhaps seen merely as a polite gesture or simple acknowledgement of good fortune. But gratitude is far deeper and more profound than momentary appreciation. It's a way of relating authentically to life itself, consciously recognizing abundance, beauty, and meaning, even amid difficulty, uncertainty, or adversity. Philosophers throughout history have recognized gratitude's transformative potential profoundly. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflected on gratitude's profound capacity to shift perception, writing, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Marcus Aurelius didn't advise gratitude merely as politeness or moral duty, but as a conscious practice to profoundly shift one's perspective, cultivating inner peace, resilience, and lasting fulfillment. Similarly, the Roman statesman Cicero considered gratitude the parent of all virtues, recognizing deeply that genuine appreciation naturally fosters compassion, humility, empathy, and authentic connection. Psychologically, gratitude's transformative effects are remarkable and well documented. Extensive research consistently reveals that people regularly practicing gratitude, whether through journaling, reflection, or daily intentional expression, experience dramatically higher levels of happiness, reduced stress, increased resilience, and significantly improved emotional well-being. Gratitude literally reshapes psychological perception, training the brain to notice abundance, positivity, and meaning even amid life's inevitable hardships or uncertainties. This shift isn't superficial optimism. It's a profound, lasting cognitive transformation, empowering deeper fulfillment, resilience, and genuine joy. Neuroscience provides additional compelling evidence supporting gratitude's profound power. Practicing gratitude consistently triggers specific neural activations, notably increasing dopamine and serotonin, neurochemicals profoundly enhancing emotional well-being, resilience, and mental clarity. Gratitude literally strengthens neural pathways associated with positivity, empathy, and emotional stability, profoundly reshaping brain structure over time. Conversely, neglecting gratitude reinforces neural activation patterns associated with negativity, anxiety, and chronic dissatisfaction, emphasizing gratitude's vital importance in neurological and emotional well-being. Consider Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, whose experiences profoundly illustrate gratitude's transformative power. Even amid unimaginable suffering within concentration camps, Frankl consciously chose gratitude, profoundly shifting his perception, resilience, and inner strength. Frankl wrote about experiencing profound gratitude for simple acts of kindness, fleeting moments of beauty, or even brief memories of love, experiences that sustained him through intense suffering. Frankl's legacy powerfully reminds us that gratitude isn't merely situational, it's a profound internal choice capable of transforming perception, resilience, and overall fulfillment, even amid life's darkest circumstances. Practically cultivating gratitude begins intentionally, consciously integrating regular appreciation practices into daily life. Gratitude journaling, simply noting several meaningful aspects of your day consistently, profoundly shifts perception over time, enhancing resilience, clarity, and overall emotional well-being. Expressing gratitude regularly toward others deepens authentic connection, significantly enhancing relational quality and emotional intimacy. Mindfulness practices intentionally focused upon gratitude reflecting quietly upon life's abundance, beauty, and meaning, strengthen neural pathways associated profoundly with emotional resilience, happiness, and lasting fulfillment. Gratitude isn't limited merely to pleasant circumstances. Its transformative power becomes particularly evident amid difficulty, uncertainty, or adversity. Consciously practicing gratitude during challenging periods profoundly shifts perception, empowering resilience, clarity, and inner strength even amid life's inevitable hardships. Gratitude during difficulty isn't superficial positivity. It's a profound, courageous acknowledgement that abundance, beauty, and meaning exist even amid struggle or uncertainty. Perhaps most importantly, gratitude isn't merely about momentary happiness. It profoundly shapes how you perceive and relate to life itself. Gratitude transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary moments. Moments profoundly rich in meaning, abundance, and lasting joy. It reshapes perception, empowers resilience, deepens relationships, and profoundly elevates overall fulfillment. Not occasionally, but consistently, authentically, and intentionally. Reflect deeply on your own life right now. How consciously and consistently do you currently practice gratitude? How would your perception, resilience, and fulfillment profoundly shift if you courageously committed to integrating genuine gratitude into every aspect of your daily life, not occasionally but intentionally, consistently, and authentically? Ultimately, gratitude represents far more than momentary appreciation. It's a profound way of living, relating authentically to life itself with genuine appreciation, resilience, and lasting fulfillment. Gratitude transforms your experience profoundly, reshaping perception, empowering resilience, and significantly enhancing the quality of your life, not superficially, but authentically, intentionally, and wholeheartedly. As you continue your journey, sincerely ask yourself, how extraordinary might your life become if you consciously embraced gratitude, allowing it to profoundly reshape your perception, resilience, relationships, and lasting fulfillment every single day? 14. The art of letting go and embracing change. Have you ever held tightly onto something, perhaps a relationship, a belief, a dream, or even an identity, only to realize later that this attachment was holding you back more profoundly than it was supporting you? Human beings are naturally inclined toward attachment. We instinctively seek familiarity, comfort, and certainty. Yet life's very nature, fluid, unpredictable, and continually evolving, means that holding tightly often leads not to security, but stagnation, anxiety, or profound frustration. The art of letting go, therefore, isn't merely a passive act of surrender. It's a powerful, courageous choice to embrace uncertainty, growth, and profound transformation intentionally. Ancient Eastern philosophy provides compelling insights into this art. Lao Tzu, the legendary philosopher and author of the Tao Te Ching, profoundly emphasized the power of letting go, advising famously, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Lao Tzu understood deeply that attachment to identities, outcomes, or expectations created profound inner resistance, blocking genuine growth, peace, and fulfillment. Conversely, consciously embracing impermanence, uncertainty, and change cultivated profound inner freedom, resilience, and authentic joy, aligning deeply with life's naturally fluid, evolving nature. Similarly, Buddhism recognizes attachment, particularly attachment rooted in fear or desire, as a primary source of human suffering. Buddhist teachings emphasize letting go not as resignation, but as profound liberation, an authentic release from unnecessary suffering created through clinging desperately to expectations, outcomes, or impermanent realities. This understanding profoundly aligns with modern psychological insights, recognizing deeply that attachment to outcomes beyond our control consistently creates unnecessary stress, anxiety, and emotional turmoil. Psychologically, the art of letting go provides remarkable benefits. Research consistently demonstrates that people adept at releasing attachment to outcomes, expectations, or identities experience significantly enhanced psychological resilience, emotional balance, and overall well-being. Conversely, chronic attachment, particularly attachment driven by fear or insecurity, strongly correlates with heightened stress, anxiety, emotional instability, and even chronic unhappiness. Letting go, therefore, isn't merely philosophical. It profoundly reshapes your emotional experience, cultivating lasting resilience, clarity, and inner peace. Neurologically, attachment triggers neural responses remarkably similar to addiction, activating brain regions associated with craving, anxiety, and obsessive thinking. Letting go, by contrast, actively disengages these neural circuits, significantly enhancing emotional balance, clarity, and overall neurological health. Practicing detachment consistently strengthens neural pathways associated with emotional stability, resilience, and adaptability, profoundly reshaping brain architecture toward lasting well-being and fulfillment. Consider Steve Jobs, who profoundly embodied the power of embracing change and uncertainty. Famously fired from Apple, the very company he founded, Jobs initially experienced profound pain, embarrassment, and uncertainty. Yet he later reflected that being fired was perhaps the best thing that ever happened to him, profoundly liberating him from rigid attachment to identity and success. This release allowed Jobs to explore, innovate, and ultimately return to Apple stronger, wiser, and profoundly transformed, illustrating clearly how embracing uncertainty and letting go powerfully catalyzed meaningful growth and lasting success. Practically cultivating the art of letting go involves conscious, intentional self-awareness. Begin by honestly identifying attachments in your life, beliefs, expectations, relationships, or identities that profoundly limit growth, resilience, or fulfillment. Reflect thoughtfully, what am I afraid to lose? How does this attachment limit or support my deeper growth? What extraordinary potential might emerge if I courageously released this attachment? Letting go also involves consciously practicing acceptance, intentionally releasing attachment to outcomes beyond your immediate control. Rather than obsessively seeking certainty or control, acceptance invites profound liberation, significantly enhancing resilience, emotional clarity, and inner peace. Mindfulness practices, consciously observing attachments without judgment or immediate reaction, powerfully cultivate acceptance, empowering deliberate choice around emotional responses, perceptions, and actions. Yet perhaps most importantly, letting go profoundly transforms your relationship with uncertainty itself. Rather than perceiving uncertainty as threatening or dangerous, consciously embracing uncertainty as an essential, inevitable aspect of life cultivates profound resilience, adaptability, and lasting fulfillment. Letting go empowers profound trust, not merely in external circumstances, but deeply within yourself, trusting profoundly that you possess the inner resilience, wisdom, and courage required to navigate uncertainty effectively and authentically. Reflect deeply on your life right now. What attachments currently limit your growth, resilience, or genuine fulfillment? How would your life profoundly shift if you courageously embraced the art of letting go, not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and authentically? Ultimately, the art of letting go represents profound liberation, not merely from external attachments, but from unnecessary internal suffering, resistance, and limitation. It cultivates profound resilience, clarity, adaptability, and genuine inner peace, not superficially, but authentically, intentionally, and wholeheartedly. As you continue your journey, sincerely ask yourself, how extraordinary might your life become if you consciously embraced uncertainty and profoundly mastered the transformative art of letting go, releasing unnecessary attachment consistently and courageously in every aspect of your life. 15. Cultivating self-compassion for lasting change. Have you ever noticed how profoundly easy it is to show compassion toward a friend or loved one who struggles, yet how challenging, perhaps even foreign, it feels to offer yourself the same kindness, patience, and understanding? Many of us unknowingly hold a deep-seated belief that self-criticism or harsh judgment drives meaningful growth, mistakenly perceiving compassion toward ourselves as weakness, indulgence, or complacency. But what if true growth, resilience, and lasting change arise not from harshness or criticism, but profoundly through authentic self-compassion? Self-compassion involves consciously relating toward yourself with genuine kindness, patience, and empathy, particularly during struggle, failure, or uncertainty. Popularized by psychologist Kristin Neff, self-compassion comprises three essential elements: mindfulness, consciously acknowledging emotions without judgment; common humanity, recognizing struggle as an intrinsic part of the human experience; and self-kindness, actively treating yourself with warmth, patience, and understanding rather than harsh criticism. Contrary to popular belief, self-compassion isn't indulgent or weak. Rather, extensive psychological research consistently demonstrates self-compassion profoundly enhances motivation, resilience, emotional stability, and overall well-being far beyond harsh self-criticism or judgment. Historically, the Buddha profoundly emphasized compassion, both toward others and oneself, as foundational to genuine growth, resilience, and enlightenment. Buddhist teachings consistently emphasize self-compassion not merely as moral duty, but as profound liberation, a conscious release from unnecessary suffering created through harsh self-criticism, judgment, or unrealistic expectations. Similarly, Stoic philosophers advised profound kindness toward oneself, recognizing deeply that harsh judgment or criticism profoundly impaired emotional balance, clarity, and overall resilience. Neurologically, self-compassion provides remarkable benefits. Harsh self-criticism activates neural regions associated profoundly with stress, anxiety, and emotional instability, particularly the amygdala, involved strongly in the brain's fight-or-flight response. By contrast, consciously practicing self-compassion triggers neural activations in the prefrontal cortex, regions associated significantly with emotional balance, clarity, and resilience. Practically, self-compassion reshapes brain structure profoundly, strengthening neural pathways, supporting emotional stability, clarity, adaptability, and lasting fulfillment. Consider the inspiring journey of Brené Brown, researcher, author, and renowned expert on vulnerability, courage, and compassion. Brown openly shares profound personal struggles with perfectionism, shame, and self-criticism, recognizing deeply how profoundly harsh self-judgment limited her resilience, clarity, and authentic fulfillment. Her transformative research emphasizes profoundly that genuine courage, resilience, and meaningful change arise not from perfectionism, harsh judgment, or shame, but profoundly through authentic vulnerability, courage, and genuine self-compassion. Practically cultivating self-compassion begins fundamentally with mindful awareness, consciously acknowledging harsh internal dialogue without immediate reaction or judgment. Rather than automatically believing critical self-talk, consciously pause, observe these internal judgments, and thoughtfully ask yourself, would I speak this way to someone I deeply cared about? What kinder, more compassionate perspective might genuinely support growth, resilience, and clarity? Self-compassion also involves consciously reframing failure or struggle, rather than perceiving difficulties as evidence of inadequacy or failure, intentionally viewing challenges as inevitable, valuable aspects of genuine growth, learning, and transformation. When struggle arises, consciously remind yourself deeply, everyone struggles, fails, or experiences setbacks occasionally. This challenge isn't proof of inadequacy. It's evidence that I'm courageously attempting something meaningful, valuable, and genuinely transformative. Additionally, practical self-compassion involves intentionally nurturing genuine self-care practices, regularly prioritizing activities that deeply enhance emotional balance, resilience, and lasting fulfillment. Whether dedicating intentional time for rest, relaxation, creative expression, or meaningful relationships, consistently nurturing authentic self-care profoundly enhances emotional resilience, clarity, adaptability, and genuine fulfillment. Yet perhaps most importantly, genuine self-compassion profoundly reshapes your relationship with yourself, transforming your internal dialogue from harsh criticism toward authentic kindness, patience, empathy, and profound support. Self-compassion means consciously recognizing your inherent worthiness, not dependent upon achievement, approval, or external success, but profoundly intrinsic, unconditional, and authentically rooted deeply within your essential humanity. Reflect deeply right now. How consciously and consistently do you currently practice genuine self-compassion, particularly amid difficulty, uncertainty, or struggle? How would your experience of life profoundly transform if you courageously committed to cultivating authentic self-compassion, not occasionally, but intentionally, consistently, and wholeheartedly? Ultimately, self-compassion profoundly empowers lasting change, not through harsh judgment or criticism, but authentically through profound kindness, resilience, clarity, and genuine inner support. It profoundly reshapes your emotional experience, empowering genuine resilience, clarity, adaptability, and lasting fulfillment, not superficially, but authentically, intentionally, and wholeheartedly. As you continue your extraordinary journey, sincerely ask yourself, how remarkable would your growth, resilience, and life profoundly become if you consciously embraced genuine self-compassion consistently, courageously offering yourself the profound kindness, patience, and understanding you genuinely deserve every single day? As we reach the end of this journey together, I invite you to reflect deeply, honestly, and courageously. What we've explored today isn't simply about gaining knowledge, insights, or even inspiration. It's about genuinely transforming your life, reshaping your inner world, and unlocking a new version of yourself capable of extraordinary things. Reinvention, as we've discovered, isn't a single moment or event. It's an ongoing practice, a quiet yet profound commitment to becoming authentically yourself, moment by moment, day by day. Perhaps the most significant realization on this journey is understanding that transformation doesn't depend solely upon external circumstances, sudden breakthroughs, or dramatic leaps forward. Real, lasting change emerges gently yet powerfully from consistent daily actions, courageous self-reflection, authentic self-compassion, and a genuine willingness to embrace uncertainty, challenges, and setbacks as invaluable stepping stones toward growth and fulfillment. Imagine the life that awaits you if you genuinely commit to these practices. Imagine waking each morning, not burdened by old limitations or self-doubt, but profoundly aligned with your deepest values, your truest passions, and your most meaningful purpose. Imagine navigating life's inevitable uncertainties, not with anxiety or resistance, but with clarity, resilience, and quiet confidence, deeply trusting yourself to handle whatever unfolds. Yet perhaps most importantly, imagine the legacy you'll create, the meaningful impact you'll leave behind when your time here has passed. Your life, your choices, your actions profoundly matter, shaping not only your experience, but rippling outward, influencing countless others. What legacy do you genuinely want to leave behind? How extraordinary might your life become if you consciously committed every single day to living fully, authentically, and wholeheartedly in alignment with your highest potential? As you move forward from this conversation, I invite you to carry these reflections deeply within your heart, genuinely embracing each moment as an opportunity for profound transformation. Remember, the power to reinvent yourself, to unlock a new you, and to live your best life doesn't exist somewhere far off in the future. It exists right here, right now, within every choice, every action, every courageous step you choose to take. So, let me leave you with this gentle yet powerful question, one worth reflecting upon deeply, honestly, and courageously. Who will you consciously choose to become, starting right now, in this very moment, knowing that the greatest version of yourself is already quietly waiting within you?